And welcome back. It is so nice to have you with us. So my next guest has a riveting story. You need to listen up. For all of you that suffer from asthma, and I know that there are so many of you out there, and with all of the pollutants and what's going on in this world, the cleaning products, the problems. I mean, I was just in Mexico in one of the rooms that I had. They used such heavy sprays for the bed bugs and the chemicals, and oh my God, I couldn't sleep in that room. I had to get another room. I had to get new sheets. I had to get new pillows. It affected my breathing. But think about living with asthma day in and day out. Think about what it's like to wonder, are you going to be able to grasp for your next breath? How horrifying is that? Seriously. Is this going to be your last breath? That's the terror that people with asthma live with day in and day out. Where is my inhaler? Do I have what I need? And it is a real serious situation. Well, my next guest is one of those people, and he almost died. So the question is, how does a psychologist from Johns Hopkins wind up finding out about this amazing Russian solution to asthma? That's the question we have for Thomas is it Fredrickson?
Yeah, it's a mouthful. It's Yaakov Fredrickson. Frankie.
Yaakov Fredrickson. Dr. Yaakov Fredrickson, welcome. It's so nice to have you with us. So tell us your story.
Well, Frankie, thank you, and I really want to compliment you on how well you have captured the horror of asthma. Now, to answer your first question, well, how did I find it? That's somewhat easy. My wife, Alexandra Yakovleva, started the first holistic centers in Russia right after Perestroika. Her business name and her centers and her publication and her television show, Inward Path, has now become part of the language, the way we use the word Google. When my asthma had hit the point of being lethal, Sasha called Ludmila Dmitry Buteyko from Clinica Buteyko, and much to our honor, Dr. Ludmila Buteyko recognized who Sasha was. That started an amazing, just absolutely amazing process, because I went from dying from my asthma, and it's uncanny how well you capture the fear of it. You wonder if in the next moment you're going to die.
Yeah.
If somehow you've done something wrong,
Absolutely.
Either what you've done with your medication or just, hey, this is it. And we all may be into appreciating impermanence, but not in the sense of a nightmare with each breath.
So you went to Russia.
Mm-hmm.
And tell us the rest of the story, please, Doctor.
Well, basically, it's such a long story. It's hard to find a short one. Let me see if this will help a little bit. I had asthma since the 1970s. I lived with it. I dealt with it. I did the absolute best I could with it. And being fairly athletic, I seemed to keep it under control. It would spar up from time to time, but, I lived with it and took my medicine. I thought that was my only option. About 3 years ago, I got an atrocious virus. And Sasha and I were on Maui at the time, and I tried every form of alternate medicine to kind of break this.
It went through this country. It was called Legionnaire's disease.
Well, yeah, okay, that's right. I had Legionnaire's disease in the 1970s.
Yeah.
So I tend to lay that down, obviously. But I carried on pretty well with my life, and then I got extremely sick. To shorten the story a little bit, because I know we have a limit on time. I'd love to talk to you forever. What happened for me was I got extremely sick. We took a trip to Israel to try a treatment along the Dead Sea. I was on every asthma medicine in the book, and I was just totally dysfunctional. I could do nothing, and I was getting worse. So it wasn't a case where the holistic guy says, okay, I'm 55, I'm not going to take medicine anymore, or, I'm not going to be one of those people to take medicine. I got a pocket full of stuff, and it doesn't work. After a trip to Israel, I got a little bit better. We came back. Once again, I got sick, and at that point, my wife, Alexandra, Sasha, reached Clinica Buteyko in Moscow. To make a long story longer, as a friend of mine says, we were there in about a month. And within the first 2 weeks of applying the method, I lost my symptoms. And by the end of the time that we spent there, which was about a month, I was off of all my medication.
So the clinic was the work of a very famous Russian medical doctor and scientist, Dr. Buteyko?
Yes, Konstantin Pavlovich Buteyko discovered in the early 1950s that chronic hyperventilation was the cause of respiratory and blood pressure diseases and actually a number of other ailments. That created a physiological train wreck in the body that made health impossible. And he determined that an asthma attack was a defense mechanism of the body to incorrect breathing, to what we now call chronic hyperventilation syndrome. So literally by changing breathing, I've totally lost my asthma. I mean, I'm cured of my asthma. Our students are. Anyone who applies the method can do the same thing.
And you do workshops. You live in Woodstock, New York, and you're doing workshops in New York City. You're doing workshops in Woodstock. The website is, go ahead and give us the website. It's the Buteyko Center USA.com.
Yes, www.ButeykoCenterUSA.com.
And that's
the trick word is Buteyko.
Right.
We also teach all over the world through Skype.
Okay.
And in fact, we do our practitioner trainings through Skype. We were just in conference with Dr. Ludmila Buteyko and Dr. Noel Zilov for 4 hours on Saturday with our entire staff that's spread about the United States, and some of our practitioners are in Europe.
And how long have you been doing this breathing, and how long has it changed? How long has it been since you've been doing this?
I've been doing this about 2.5 years. I noticed a difference actually within the first session when we change over breathing, mouth breathing, which is so detrimental, particularly to anyone with a respiratory response. You literally have a difference. You know, it's very quick at changing your body, and as you stop needing to be rescued by the drugs, then you in conjunction with your doctor can back off of that. I mean, if you don't need them, you're not using them. But it's the difference between night and day. I've gone from being a complete invalid to having my life back.
Isn't that wonderful? Talk to us about kids. Is this something that would be effective for children?
Extremely. When Dr. Buteyko would work with a group of adults, he would, there's one time he was working with about 30 people at one time. He got 6 kids together up front, taught them the method, then had them teach the adults that are in the room. Kids do spectacular with it, and they also don't have the long-term breathing pattern, that we may have as adults for any number of reasons. And they're smart. They don't want to suffocate. It's extraordinarily frightening for any of us, particularly a child. So they will change breathing habits very quickly.
And how did Dr. Buteyko figure this whole thing out?
This is actually a spectacular story. Konstantin Buteyko was dying of chronic hyperventilation. He had malignant hyperventilation. He was an excellent student, was graduating medical school, had used every form of medication that he could find, and his hypertension was lethal. And in a moment of prayer, he asked for an answer. And there's a very famous story about a light appearing outside the window in the library where Buteyko was working. And so those of us who are spiritual see it as divine, and I guess someone else might see it as a light in a parking lot. But in prayer, he shielded his eyes and he looked down, and he saw how extensively he was breathing. And he asked the question, did his hyperventilation cause his hypertension, or did his hypertension cause his hyperventilation?
And I'm going to let you answer that when we come back from break. It's a fascinating story, and it's Buteyko Center USA.com. We'll be back. It's Frankie Boyer, and it's also a link on my website and my blog at frankieboyer.com. Stay tuned, everybody.
If you're not healthy, you're not listening to The Frankie Boyer Show. Now pay attention, will you?
And welcome back. So if you have eczema, fatigue, flu, COPD, asthma, anxiety, Parkinson's, asthma, the course, is the one that got this whole thing started. The Buteyko Center USA may be for you. ButeykoCenterUSA.com is the website. And we're talking today to a psychologist who literally got his life back. And so hyperventilation, Thomas,
Yeah.
is really what we're talking about. And explain to us what you mean by that.
Sure. Buteyko felt that chronic hyperventilation, in fact, was the cause of disease. Not only hypertension, but asthma, but a physiological train wreck throughout the body. Now, Lao Tzu, the Taoist in the 5th century, said the perfect man breathes as if he is not breathing at all. Many religions have reduced breathing in prayer. Russian Orthodox does a reduced breathing. Basically, we in this time and society and civilization are running around atrociously over-breathing, and we lose carbon dioxide, what Buteyko called the angel's wing over the body. And this is a little tricky, but when you have a low amount of carbon dioxide, the oxygen bonds improperly with the hemoglobin in the bloodstream. It can't get out to your body. If you've ever exercised and gotten dizzy or run up a flight of stairs, you're experiencing that shortage of carbon dioxide. So the human body will do everything in the world to save this, including a bronchospasm, including a rise in blood pressure, even cholesterol. Buteyko's study showed that cholesterol was even an attempt to stop from losing the carbon dioxide. So when we overbreathe, and anybody can try it, Buteyko used to do a hyperventilation provocation test and have a student sit down, open their mouth, and breathe as fast as they could. Do you feel better? Never. You feel worse. You're losing oxygen. And the asthmatic does a bronchospasm. Now, with the best attempt, the current medication does what? It releases the bronchospasm. Have we solved the balance of Buteyko's precious carbon dioxide? No. That's why the medications did not cure me, and that's why I got literally to death's door. And when I ended up in Moscow, within 2 weeks, I was symptom-free. The first day that I worked with Dr. Novoselov and Ludmila Buteyko, who we now formally represent with Buteyko Center USA. We've trained with them extensively. The first day, my symptoms changed. The first day, for the first time in God knows how long, I had a light sensation in my solar plexus. I could breathe. It's unbelievable. If you haven't experienced it, you can only imagine it, and it is as bad as you would imagine.
So talk to me a little bit about how you get kids to do this.
Well, it's great. We teach kids here in the center, or we teach through Skype, the free webcam download. Now, with kids, we teach the parent also. And Skype actually works good for teaching kids because our sessions for our primary course, Buteyko Method and Lifestyle, are 2 hours long. But we teach the kids different breathing exercises. And we teach them how to do things that will raise the carbon dioxide. We teach them how to reduce their breathing. With kids, we'll say, breathe like a little mouse. Close your mouth. In fact, we work in groups in Russia, and last summer there was just this cutest, adorable little Russian girl from one of the outer areas of Russia. Almost looked more like a postcard, if I can say something like that, that shallow. And we were working with her the first day, and I worked through translation. And the next day there was another boy there, and we wanted him to see the wrong way to breathe. And we asked this little girl to breathe through her mouth. And she said, "Niet." She said, no. She just crossed her arms. And we said, "Why?" She said, "It's bad for you." So kids learn it very quickly, and the symptom of suffocation and taking medication and the effects of the medication are very, very strong motivators.
Sure. So if you are listening to this and you are an asthma sufferer, will you get rid of your inhalers?
Yes. I am absolutely drug-free. In fact, David Wiebe, that was written up in the New York Times, the violin maker, was just interviewed by CBS News. And he said he was down to less than 5% of the medication that he had used before the Buteyko method. And when I asked him about the 5%, he said, "I'm still a little lazy." We have many testimonials of individuals that have gotten totally drug-free. Mike Goslin, who is now one of our practitioners, is 54 years old. He went on meds when he was 4 years old. Mike was in the worst health. I laugh now because he's become a good friend. He was in the worst health of almost anyone I've seen when he came to us. He is totally drug-free after 50 years.
Isn't that something? And this will help with lots of diseases, not just asthma.
Yes, because when the body becomes hypoxic, when it's short of oxygen, which I'll go back to my little lecture about the carbon dioxide, when the body does not get enough oxygen, everything breaks down. So what's always interesting for us to see and has become commonplace is all the additional ailments that have improved. There's a list that Buteyko did that's on our primary website. David Weeby's wife, Sue, lost adenoid issues and hormone imbalance. I have a dear friend, Mary Lou Street, in Fort Worth, Texas, and you can read Mary Lou's story on our website, and she balanced hormone imbalances. So it's a literal miracle, and it starts, of course, with any type of breathing difficulties or high blood pressure or immune deficiency issues.
And you learn this technique through a series of exercises?
Yes, the best way to learn it is with a practitioner. We have a free self-test on the website that someone can take and be led through a couple of exercises. Then one of our specialists will do an evaluation and respond back kind of with where your health is at and what you can do about it. But we teach these breathing exercises. The specialist will teach it. Our primary course is the Buteyko Method and Lifestyle. That copies the month that I spent in Moscow when we got certified. Mm-hmm. We also do the workshops, which is a quick way to get a handle on it. We have a home study course. But one of the great things is the free evaluation, the free self-test that's on the website. And that can be really helpful. And we have a great deal of information on the website. And we also have a scholarship program that someone was kind enough to help us set up.
Buteyko Center USA.com. And if we just have a few minutes left, if you have a question, we can get it in 888-6-FRANKIE, 888-205-2263. I know that Jackie has a question. Hi, Jackie.
Hi. I was wondering, you mentioned that mouth breathing is not good, but I was wondering if for people who have chronic plugged sinuses and things like that, what do they do?
Well, Jackie, your sinuses are plugged because it's another attempt of the body to stop the loss of carbon dioxide. So we teach a sinus clearing process that you can do that's organic, that's natural, that can help you clear your sinuses. And when you stop over breathing, then you don't have the same difficulties with sinuses. But Buteyko said, breathe through your mouth as often as you eat through your nose.
Mm-hmm. I also wondered if I found for me that cutting out dairy and wheat helped a lot. I wonder if you tried any dietary things.
Well, that's part of our course, the Buteyko Method and Lifestyle, goes over diet. Yes, dairy creates mucus, and there's lots of studies on why dairy is not really the best thing to be on, of course. But yes, if you will pull dairy out, that always lessens the difficulty of asthma. And, of course, many people have a response to wheat.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Thank you for the call, Jackie. And that is a big concern for so many of us that are gluten sensitive. So do you feel that this has some connection with? Well,
certainly, Frankie. And as the body is worn down, it's going to be extremely sensitive. So at one point, I was allergic to everything. I put a drop of milk in a cup of coffee, I had trouble. Now, if I want, although it's not the best for my waistline, I can eat an extra large pizza. I can consume anything. But when the body is inflamed, you will have more and more difficulties. So as you improve the breathing and improve the pattern of your breathing and breathe properly, then you lose that inflammation and you lose the allergies. I'd like to add the big key with the Buteyko Method is applying it. So I do an initial assessment with students, and really after we do the free self-test, if someone would like, I'll do an assessment. And the big key to me is, will you do the breathing exercises? Will you take 3 times a day to do a series of exercises that will eventually move to just part of your life and exercise and how you move? So the big question is, you can understand the theory, but you must apply it to make the change. Yet, to me, the change is priceless. I feel spectacular, and asthma's gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's unbelievable. I thought I was going to die from this. I thought I was going to live my life everything is affected. You cannot try to do anything.
No, I cannot even imagine, Thomas, trying to breathe and not know where that next breath is coming from. It just, I knew being in Mexico, the toxins that I was breathing every night were so, I could feel them in my body. It was disgusting. I couldn't take it. I didn't sleep. It was just a horrible experience. But I didn't think I was going to die. I just knew that I could find a solution the next day, getting rid of the sheets and the toxic chemicals and asking them not to spray in my room, and that's what I did. But for someone who lives with it 24/7, this is why I wanted you to come on to share with people that there is a non-medication help for people out there.
Exactly, totally drug-free.
And that's what we want. We want a drug-free approach for people.
When Ludmila Buteyko and Dr. Novozilov, who is her son, Buteyko's son, asked Sasha, because of her background in health and I guess mine is in academics, to formally represent them, it was kind of like we had no choice. The fear of not being able to breathe that's caused by asthma is the worst horror you can have. People do die from it. And I can remember countless nights standing at the door, and it would be so bizarre because Sasha would be saying, "Should I call an ambulance?" And I'd say no. But God knows why. It was the stupidest thing I probably could have said. So when we see our students in their first session change, when we do the primary course, Buteyko Method and Lifestyle, we do that first session, and we do that, again, through Skype everywhere around the world. People are very welcome to come here, but it's so efficient.
We're almost out of time, but there is so much information.
Yeah, thank you so much, Frankie.
And you can go online and find it. It's on my website. The connection is there. Thank you so much, Thomas, and thank all of you. It's Frankie Boyer. We'll see you next time right here on the Frankie Boyer Show. Thanks for listening, everybody, and you make it a great day.